And so it's very basic, fundamental mindfulness meditation. And we choose to use the mindfulness one kind of because it's detached from religion. It also has a ton of scientific research behind it that indicates that it works to help people get to a state which we're calling in this group ventral vagal. It's the part of the vagus nerve where you feel worthy, life feels expansive, you feel peaceful, grounded, connected, you feel like engaging socially. Um, and I think it's what Jesus meant by the kingdom. It's a place inside of you. There are two other parts of the vagus nerve, fight or flight, which most of us are very familiar with, and then the dorsal part, which is also part of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is kind of where you give up the will to live. And that's where you feel like a mistake. You feel like there's no hope, like the world is uninhabitable. You feel no desire to engage the world or engage in any activities. And many of us know that place too. Um, the medical community takes advantage of these parts of the vagus nerve and says the dorsal part is depression. And they fill you full of SSRIs and nothing changes because you're not depressed, you're dorsal. On top of that, we're finding that, as one writer says, you're not short on SSRIs. If you define depression as not having enough serotonin in your brain, SSRIs do nothing to increase your serotonin levels anywhere. The same way, if you're in fight or flight, they prescribe anti-anxiety medication to try and calm you down, mood stabilizers, all of these kinds of things. Again, this is very non-pathologized. And if you look at the two drugs that Big Pharma makes tons of money on, it's Prozac, SSRIs, and anti-anxiety drugs and things to help people sleep. Now, the alternative is to learn how to regulate your nervous system. And that's basically what we're doing in meditation. Cut away all the mysticism, all the religion, and what you basically have is that there are ways of using our bodies. And the more we study it, the more we find things like taking a morning walk, that walking releases a natural protein that's an antidepressant. Red light in the early mornings brings you back to ventral, listening to bird song, uh, getting hugged, putting ice on your chest. So many things that are very simple immediately put you uh, into a state where you feel worthy, where the world feels safe again, without going through 30 years of therapy, without medicating yourself, without um, um, years of esoteric meditation. So I'm glad that you're with us. After we do our meditation, we'll take a break for questions and answers. So again, don't hear me saying there isn't a place for some of the drugs that I've named. I'm simply saying they're way overprescribed, and they're prescribed for situations which are not pathological, not diseases, uh, and there are alternatives. So I hope you consider this. Today, I wanted to talk about one of the benefits of meditation. So you're sitting here, you're following your breath. Today, we're going to be looking at counting your breath, which is something that our teacher, Father Kennedy, is a big fan of, and he will explain it better than I can. But what you need to pay attention to as you're sitting there is what else is happening as you sit. Um, things begin to show up that if you're not looking for them, you're liable to miss them and say meditation isn't doing any good. And for those of you who are new, there's a teacher who held up a canvas, white canvas with two curved V's on it. And he said, "What is this?" They all go, "It's two birds." He says, "It's not a bird. Well, what else could it be?" "I don't know. I only see two birds." "Stop saying birds. It's not a bird. What is it?" "I don't know. What is it?" "It's a sky with two birds flying through it." So part of what I'm encouraging you to do is as we sit, we begin to see our thoughts out here, begin to see our emotions, our senses. Well, what you want to look at is what's behind that, that thing that you've never seen. Last week we talked about a guy who called the true self a snow leopard. It's something you don't see directly. You see signs of it's operating, but you're not necessarily going to get to it. And one of the things you're not necessarily going to recognize immediately is equanimity. Equanimity is what the Buddhists call one of the four great abidings, one of the things that you can land in, be safe in, learn to dwell in. The first one is compassion. The second one is loving kindness. The third one is sympathetic joy, not joy for your own successes, but joy for other people's successes. And then finally, this idea of equanimity. What is equanimity? And the West has totally misunderstood it. They think that it's a cultivation of indifference or of not caring or of total detachment from what's going on in your life. But there's a wonderful teaching story which illustrates this. There's a man named Li in China, and he had a prize stallion. And farmers would come from hundreds of miles around to breed their mares to his stallion. One day, the stallion runs off, and all the neighbors come around and go, "Oh, Lee, what a horrible stroke of luck. Now your stallion's gone. You're going to lose all that money, man. What a tragedy." And Lee replies, "Good luck, bad luck. I don't know what it is. All I know is my stallion's gone." Okay. So sure enough, 6 months later, as it's getting cold, the stallion comes back and he's picked up 50 wild mares while he's been out running around. So the stallion runs back into the corral. Lee shuts the gate behind all the mares, and all the neighbors are back. "Oh, Lee, you're such a wise man. How did you know that this was going to turn out so well? What a stroke of luck." And Lee says, "Good luck, bad luck. I don't know what it is. All I know is my stallion's back and I've got 50 mares to break." Well, his son is out breaking one of the mares. He gets thrown, he breaks his leg. All the neighbors are back. "Oh, Lee, what a horrible stroke of luck. You knew it was coming, didn't you, buddy?" He says, "Good luck, bad luck. I don't know what this is. All I know is my son broke his leg." Sure enough, a couple of weeks later, a warlord comes through and is conscripting young men, and they don't take his son because he's got a broken leg. Neighbors are back. "Oh, Lee, what a stroke of luck. You're such a genius. How did you know it's going to turn out well?" He says, "Good luck, bad luck. I don't know what it is. All I know is that my son didn't go to war today." Okay. Now, what is happening here? What is equanimity? Equanimity is the capacity to treat what's happening as no biggie. That's one of Pema Chodron's favorite phrases, no biggie. The mind wants to amplify it. That's what dopamine does. Dopamine's one of those neurotransmitters that takes a molehill and turns it into a mountain. It makes it bigger, it makes it better. So we can't trust our minds to do that. And part of what we learn to see in meditation is what we call clear seeing. Clear seeing means to see what's happening in front of us without the conditioned mind distorting it. So often we think we're dealing with reality. We're dealing with trance states from our childhood while you have that sense of being trapped because you're replaying the same interpretive patterns that you've developed all your life. So what begins to happen is a form of liberation where all of that stuff is happening over here, but there's a background where you begin to handle situations which used to cause you to go off the handle with a poise and a calm and a capacity to see a path of action directly, not biased by fear or hope or ego, but just what's the most skillful thing to be done at this moment. And I was talking with someone about Uvalde again, and what a horrible tragedy, because the law enforcement officers are sitting right outside with weapons to stop the killing. And why didn't they go in? Fear. No, no. They were waiting to do the right thing. They were waiting for orders to come down through the chain of command. How many times are we sitting waiting for what's right to become apparent instead of doing the most obvious thing that can be done in the present moment? So this is a gift that's going to come, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, as we say at other program I'm in, but it will always materialize if you continue to sit. So it's kind of a combination of that non-judgmental mind that we talk about, not preferring this state over this state, which is the source of all suffering. It's clear seeing. It does have that emotional capacity of no biggie. It's never going to be as bad as my brain tells it is. Monkey mind's always projecting things are going to be horrible, and they're never as bad as it tells you it's going to be. In the same way, they're never as good as it tells you it's going to be. So don't listen to that mind. So here's a different mind sitting behind it that's more like a camera obscura. It only presents what's there. It's not doing light, adjusting light, not adjusting focus, not adjusting color. It's just seeing what's there. So as you sit today, as we listen to the meditation, begin to see who's seeing. Who is that eye behind your seeing? Who's the ear behind your hearing? Who's the receiver of the thoughts, the emotions that are going? That thing that is so hard to see directly is who you truly are. And this is part of what Pema says is your true goodness. That's the self that the wisdom mind, what the Buddhists call the wisdom mind. It's part of what Jesus says, unless you become again as a little child. Children can confound the wise because they see the emperor's fucking naked. He ain't wearing very fine clothes. He's naked. We're, oh, don't say that. Don't say that. My whole world will come crashing down if he's naked. Well, get ready for that to happen. Okay, so it does happen. So we'll talk more about this later. We'll let Jack take over.
Okay, so we're in this chapter on breath. Started out with just mindfulness of breath, and then last week, calming and steadying with the breath, calm and ease. And as Bart introduced, this meditation is called Counting the Breath. It's probably going to be about 10 minutes. So then we'll continue in silence for about another 10 minutes, and then we'll ring you out. Is that right?
Perfect.
Okay. Let me phone on Do Not Disturb.
Continuing with the practice of mindfulness of breathing, you may have noticed that the breath changes in many ways. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. It varies with your thoughts and feelings. When you're upset or anxious, the breath might be short, shallow. When you're at ease, the breath might be slow and gentle. With a relaxed mindfulness, you can allow yourself to be present with whatever you are experiencing. So far, you've been exploring ways of focusing attention on the breath, finding what's most comfortable and effective for you. You've been noticing where in your body you most easily feel the breath, whether the nostrils and upper lip, your chest or belly, or perhaps even your whole body. Or you found it helpful to place your hand on your belly and feel the rising and falling of the breath in the palm of your hands. If using the words calm and ease helps, you can stay with this as you practice. Continue to notice the changing rhythms of the breath. If the breath becomes soft, let your attention become soft and careful. If there's tension in your breathing, let yourself relax. Remember, the point is not to control your breath, but to observe the natural breath. If you feel you're controlling your breath, just let go and notice the sense of contact where you're sitting. Remember, too, you're not trying to become good at breathing. You're simply bringing attention to the breath as it is. You're connecting with this present moment, steadying and focusing your attention. Neuroscience research has found that mindful breathing balances the two branches of the autonomic or involuntary nervous system, the one that regulates our breath, heartbeat, and digestion. When we bring conscious attention to the unconscious and automatic cycle of breathing, we are creating a deep sense of coherence in the brain itself. In this session, we introduce another tool you might find helpful in the art of breathing mindfully: gently counting the breath. This is not rote like counting the 99 bottles of beer on the wall. Rather, it is a way to bring a continuous focus to the breath, to remain wakeful and steady as you practice. You can count from 1 to 5 and then start over, or 1 to 10. To avoid letting the counting become disconnected or automatic, you can eventually try counting backwards instead. The point is to use counting as a way to remain alert and connected to each breath. The secret to this practice is letting the numbers be just a whisper in the mind, with 95% of your attention sensing the breath and 5% keeping track of the numbers. Sometimes you might only get as far as 2 or 3 breaths before your attention wanders. No matter, it's like working out at the gym. You're building muscles of steadiness and focus. Stay patient and kind with yourself. Now let's practice this new tool for cultivating awareness of the breath. As you have before, take your seat with dignity and graciousness and allow yourself to relax into a simple sense of presence. Notice the state of your body and mind and bring a kind attention to it. And now fill your body with the half smile of kindness. Take 2 deep, relaxing breaths to sense the breath more fully in your body. Bring your attention again to the natural rhythm of the breath, wherever you sense the breath most easily. Let yourself feel several breaths in a row. With each one, let the mind calm and the body relax. If it helps, use the soft words calm and ease with each breath. Feel 3 more breaths with calm and ease. Stay with the breath just as it is. As you continue now, bring in the practice of counting each breath. You can start by counting 1 to 5. Remember to let the numbers be a whisper in the mind so that 95% of your attention rests on the sensations of the breathing, the in and out, the rising and falling. Count 5 more breaths. You can continue mindfulness of breathing, counting to 5, or if you wish, try counting 10 breaths. You might find that your attention wanders somewhere in the middle of that longer count. No judgment, no worry. Just start again, over and over. Nowhere to go, just coming back to this next breath. This simple dedication, repeated returning, is what builds the power of mindfulness. Stay kind and steady, 1 through 5 or 1 through 10, over and over, like an athlete or a musician, honing your skill. During the next few days, as you continue developing your awareness of breath, use this tool of counting if it helps. Even short periods of practicing this steady focus will strengthen your mindfulness and awareness.
Someone kick the fan up to high. Just pull it,
The longest one.
longest one, pull it twice. Thank you, dear. Have you shown everybody our guests?
No, I have not.
Okay. We've got a full house today since we're in Shreveport. So,
All right, Dorothy,
Alma,
Marilyn,
Ruth,
Bruce, Tom, Jerry. Woohoo! Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Nandi.
yes,
Yeah,
Prince.
he's making friends with Cherry. Okay.
All right, so for new people, since you're muted, you may have to unmute yourself to ask a question. This is a period for addressing any questions you may have about your personal meditation, question that you may have about the practice. So
Comments.
a comment, yep. Whatever you got, bring it.
The counting part is really difficult for me because I just get obsessed by it. So to truly meditate, I have to quit counting. So I
Okay.
don't just get obsessed about what number is it. The same happens with exercise, remembering which
So
number
the
I'm
way
on.
counting works, Woody, is that if you get lost, you start at 1.
Yeah,
There's so you could just keep counting 1. And that'll get rid of that. Also, another thing to do is kind of play around with obsession. Why does my mind suddenly turn this into a competition or something to be perfect at? So
Get to the highest number.
yeah, get to the highest number. I'm the most serene. So instead of saying, well, that doesn't work, it's all grist for the mill. Watch your mind. You know, I like when they say, let your breath find its own natural rhythm. I can't do that because the minute you tell me to just relax and let go, my mind immediately tries to do that. And which is exactly the opposite. So there are all kinds of paradoxes that again, we meet with that no biggie. Okay, so I'm struggling with this. No biggie. Watch my mind turn this into something when it's not.
And watch my mind say that I have to count or else I'm not doing it right.
Yeah.
So fuck the counting. I don't like counting. Woody, you and I are not on the same page. It just gets me in my head, and that's not where I want to be. There's 42 lessons in this thing, and I can't do all 42 lessons each time I meditate.
Lacquer.
It helped me get out of my head.
There you go.
All right.
So
Because as
I
soon
don't
as
know if you'd
realized
hear.
that I had a thought that I didn't want to have, I went back to the counting and the thought would just float through the lining of the skull. And just think.
Right,
So that was good for me.
right.
Did you all hear that? She said that she found that counting got her out of her mind, that when she would go back to the counting, whatever thought she was having would just immediately go out of her head. So whatever works for you, stay with that.
And I think, Matthew has a point in that these 40 meditations, you can't possibly practice all 40, whatever they're trying to teach. You can't do that all at once, but any good teacher knows that you could present the same thing, which is meditation, 40 different ways. And one way is going to, appeal to somebody and not to somebody else. So I think we're all sort of addressing that and realizing that. Tom?
There are many tools that you can have in your meditation toolbox. And different tools work at different times for different people. Something might not work for you right now, but in a different circumstance where your mind is doing one thing or another, it's very nice to have a toolbox with a lot of tools that might work for you at that particular time. So it's not really a matter of rejecting one and saying, oh, this doesn't work for me. You know, maybe you have a screwdriver in your toolbox that you hardly ever use. It's the wrong shape and size. And then all of a sudden one day something comes along and hey, that screwdriver is just the perfect thing for that moment, for that job.
Exactly.
Well said, Jenny. I'm with Sherry, was it, who, you know, for me, when my monkey mind starts going and I'm trying to concentrate on breathing, then what counting does is to give my monkey mind a place to focus and take it away from the distractions. So to me, it's a way to take my monkey mind and bring it back to my breath.
Good. Yeah, that was Dorothy, and that was good.
Dorothy, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking to what Jenny had to say, I think about yoga. I open every yoga class with setting an intention. I open my heart to explore. You know, yoga is an exploration physically. And I think meditation, we're exploring, you know, counting today or something else tomorrow, and what works. It's what's the tool in the toolkit that works today. It's an exploration, and counting may work today and not tomorrow. Yeah, my mind is very skilled, and so I can count, and all the while still hear the birds and the airplane and the cars, and I can tune back in and I'm still counting. Wow.
So, and that's part of what he was saying about, so there are two things about that. One is we are building mindfulness. So the point is not to get good at counting your breath. It's counting your breath, stabilizing and moving out. What else is going on, like you're doing? So, you know, we do begin to notice the sounds around us. And also you can watch your thoughts against that backdrop. Watch your emotions against that backdrop. What he's saying that we need to keep in mind, though, is when it becomes so automatic that it no longer anchors you, then it's lost its function. So it needs to be a way of anchoring in the present moment, not just something that goes on in your background like an earworm, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to focus and visualize numbers. If I try to do words, my brain goes a lot of places. Like if I try to do calm and ease, now I am in poems I've heard, I am in definitions, all kinds of things. But numbers, I can singularly bring my focus back to.
That's interesting to visualize the numbers. I like
That's
that.
another tool for our toolbox.
Yeah. Great one.
There are some retreats that I've gone to where we've learned to focus on a mandala like this one, which is Longchenpa. We also have a green Tara and a white Tara, and you learn the symbolism of the different things that are in the mandala. And then we meditate by focusing on the mandala itself. That's another tool for the toolbox. And sometimes it's listening to a chant and focusing on that. So, you know, there's no need to write something off as, it doesn't work for me. Just throw it in the toolbox, and, you know, on a day when you're having a hard time, try out some of the different tools.
Right.
Maybe something will work for you that didn't work before.
And also, to those of you who are new, don't judge mindfulness by this one meditation that you're receiving today. This is just as you're hearing one of 40 that's in this particular set of teachings. And of course, there are far more in other teachings as well, all of which have persisted because they worked for someone. And there's a part of any tradition, which is gratitude for the teachers who explored these ways, and they've left traces of where they went, what worked for them. But
Who is this person?
what
Who's the person?
Channing? That
Who was on the
Channing.
recording?
Uh-huh.
That was
Jack Kornfield.
Oh, Jack Kornfield, they're all on YouTube.
No, this is a Sounds True.
Oh, sounds true. Okay.
Telling the
And-
story, it's a really cool story. It was $150 for these 40 lessons, and during COVID, they made it free for everybody.
And you can still access it free, you know, since 2020. So it's a
Just look
lovely
up his
thing.
name.
Mhm.
Lovely thing. Yep.
And Tara Brock, he's doing it alternating with
alternate.
Tara Brock. So one thing again that that Matthew has worked with me on, I asked him to do the same meditation for a month daily. It, oftentimes these things don't begin to bear merit until you've really integrated it. So what we're doing here is building neural pathways. All right. Now, my favorite number for you brain nerds like me is that it takes 300 to 400 repetitions to build a new neural pathway. Okay. Which is why new habits are hard to form unless you're playing. If you're playing, it takes 20 to 30 repetitions. Now, what's interesting is that in Tai Chi, it's called playing Tai Chi. And so your attitude very much has a lot to do with the benefit you're going to get out of your meditation. So if you get on your cushion and go, oh God, I gotta go meditate. Shit. There's another
Goes my
20
mind
minutes out of
again.
my day. I don't have time for this crap. Well, if you got that one, it may take you 800 repetitions to get anywhere. But if you got that attitude of when you sit on this cushion, what a privilege, what an honor, what a blessing, and what a fun time to sit and play with this brain that you've inherited that you have no idea how it works. And these are techniques to begin to expose what it's up to, so that instead of being jerked around by it and it determining what kind of day you're going to have, you can sit down and go, wow, 20 minutes and I can start this day off great, and that may carry you all the way into noon. That's a pretty nice thing to do for myself.
That is one of Gabriel Roth's rhythms, out of the 5 rhythms is play. We did that the other day in desk therapy. It's amazing to find the play inside you.
Absolutely. And that's one of the characteristics of being ventral. So ventral is the child mind, the beginner mind. Before we've been conditioned, before we've been wounded, kids naturally play. Look at nature. Squirrels are out there playing, birds are out there playing, otters play, birds play. Everything plays except human being. And we're so deadly serious. We got that Puritan thing where you look like you just sucked a lemon and smelled your own ass. You're like, ew, God. And we think that's what holy people are supposed to look like. And we see the Dalai Lama sitting and playing and flirting with kids out in the audience, sitting next to the Pope, who's sitting there like he's a Pope on a stick, some kind of mummy that they trotted out on a thing who can't emotionally relate to his environment at all. So it's a very different approach to walk in here
To life.
and anticipate the lightness of spirit, the lightness of simply being. What a joy to rediscover. You're longing for paradise. You have this longing to be easy. How many of you have a longing? Why can't life just be easy? This is where you find easy again. Okay. So the first noble truth, life is suffering. It means it got hard. We're struggling. Why are we struggling? Because we're trying to make something happen. And you quit trying to make something happen, you go back to playing. Go riff with whatever's happening. Tim, what you got? Unmute yourself, Tim. Or owner.
I'm thinking of what Channing was talking about something behind her that she focuses.
Right.
Then I'm also, when you said the cushion, I went like, oh yeah, wow, holy smokes. Once I'm sitting on that, or I bring that to this session that we're doing every Saturday, and once I'm sitting on that I can't, it eases it. There's an ease of whatever we're talking about, and I'm trying to get. When I'm sitting on the cushion, I'm not trying to get it. You know, I'm trying to let it infuse me. Like an IV. I can't think of any, I'm like, oh, that's why it's like, ah. And then when I get off, it's back into the world, which is cool. But when I'm on that, it's like, okay, I got my for the next hour. It makes my Saturday different. It makes messing around with Kathleen different. It just shifts it. I'm gonna just bringing that in, sitting down on that shifts it. And I went, oh my God, that's what the cushion is doing to me. Okay. And that's why I always bring it. I didn't realize what it was, but now I really, it's my tool. The cushion for me is
It's cool. You got. We call it the diamond throne. The minute you sit on it, you're claiming your right to peace, love, and joy. You're claiming your spiritual birthright. Okay. This was given to you with birth. And you've squandered it. You're the prodigal son. You've been off chasing everything in the world and forgetting these simple joys and simple pleasures. So it's our tool. And the thing, how many of you notice, like if you go to a counselor, you go to meetings, that your mind starts anticipating it. Sometimes the day before, starts processing what am I going to be talking about. Then you actually have it. And then there's the period afterwards. When you start on your cushion, you're investing energy here. Okay. This becomes an association in your mind with these positive energy states. So it's the opposite of trauma, which brings up negative states. It triggers negative state. The more you sit on your cushion, the more it triggers memories of the positive things that happened on your cushion. So that when you're upset and you come and sit, you start shifting before you ever get started. Have any of you meditated long enough to feel that shift just sitting? Yeah.
Or it happens in yoga, the safe, sacred space of your mat.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And then you sit down, it's like, oh, everything's going to be okay, now.
Yeah,
So
feel safe, feel comfort, feel I can receive, not so much let go as much as I can now be open to receiving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And it really is receiving stuff that you've invested with your previous meditations. And you can feel that sense like in this space. When you use a space for meditation, I think that energy collects there.
Oh,
when
yes.
we built our church out on Ellaby Road, I said, this isn't a sacred place yet. But every time we touch the sacred in this place, we make it sacred. And that becomes like a bank where you can come in and then draw on it. So again, it's we tend to think of investments only in material terms. And Jesus said, don't lay up your treasures where they can rust and moth can corrupt, invest it here in your peace and your joy, your freedom from your brain.
I'm laughing because right now I'm thinking everybody that I can see is my cushion. And it feels really good. It feels real, I mean, really, really outstanding.
Great. So I don't know Tom. I've been trying to seduce Tom into coming. This is what our group looks like. Isn't it?
Wow, nice.
And so every one of you is like a green or a white tar to me. Something that I take joy in. Anybody else got anything? We're past our time.
I think Casey has a burning
Wonderful.
I think Casey has a burning desire. It's in the chat because she can't talk because she
Can't talk. What does it say?
Okay.
it's the last one. And
Okay.
I know we're over time.
Do you want to read it, Matthew?
Casey says, I'd be curious to hear different techniques from people in this group. When you're feeling extra restless, meditate while stretching or walking, ? Just sit with restlessness, ? Shake energy out of your hands or roll your shoulders while meditating, ? What works for you?
Absolutely any of those.
I just let it happen.
The shaking does an adrenaline dump. So it's one of the techniques that we're teaching now, and
I've been doing that in yoga.
and doing it in yoga.
I've got one more thing. One more thing I want to say about that, about the holiness and the steadiness. The trees are our friends. We all know trees from our childhood that are still alive. They have never moved anywhere. They're always at the same spot. And I get a lot of that when I see nature and when I see the trees, and I see a tree that I've known since I was 6 years old and it's still there. I feel that holiness. It's like a cushion to me. It's like a space, because it never goes anywhere. It sits on its cushion all its time.
Yep.
It's an anchor in
Yeah.
your, it's a guidepost.
Just wanted to say that quick, and it's good to be back.
Nice.
So when you look at the word holy, lose supernatural connotations, and if you want, spell it W8OLY. LLY, because what we're discovering is that the way we need to be doing therapy is not drugs and repeating traumas to the point that you re-traumatize yourself. It's taking your brain to places that move you ventral. Nature is one of your major healers. Yes, it resets you ventral. Okay, get out in it. Again, Casey, another thing is don't stay in your house. Don't stay locked up. Get back in the environment that you came from your source.
I'd like to suggest for over anxious meditations, just extend exhales. That count how long it takes to do your inhale and exhale, and extend the exhale farther and farther.
Lengthen the exhale.
So for newcomers, these are what we call brain hacks.
Tools.
They're tools and they work. And what Brad's saying is when you slow your exhale, it releases nitric oxide, which begins to open up your blood vessels and things. You can't not get calmer when you do that. And that enables you to begin to do the thoughts. Now you can keep the thoughts going and you're still going to be panicky, but if you keep the break that your breath gives you, it can calm you. Get yourself out of the situation that's making you anxious. First thing, get somewhere safe.
That's how they teach when you're having an asthma attack. Now let's focus on breathing in.
Yeah.
You focus on your exhale and extending your exhale because it calms the panic that you can't breathe.
Yep.
Makes the asthma attack worse. Focus on
I'd like to share, Corinne, what you said about trees just made me weep. Thank you for that. We have
Yeah.
we have a massive mesquite tree here at the house, and I realize it's the one memory I have of my mom that I'll never let go. When she just
Wow.
stood under that and loved that tree. So thank you for that memory. It's very
Nice.
moving.
So, what a lovely group of tree huggers.
Wait, I know.
One more thing before we go. I did a wedding out at the church on Ellerby Road. Before the church was built, the workmen were out there. And the woman who's getting married's name was Tree. So I asked the groom, Steve, do you take this woman Tree to be your lawfully wedded wife? Tree, take this woman Tree to be your lawfully wedded husband. It started a rumor all over Shreveport that I married people to trees. So,
I know Tree and Steve.
and I did nothing to dissuade them.
Right on.
Oh,
All right, so Omi, get us going.
okay, you can unmute yourselves if you like. 3 rounds of Ohm and the
And then
raspberries.
Casey, after that,
Who knows?
we're gonna raspberry shake it out, girl. I know, I'm gonna say, shake it
Shake
out,
it
get up,
out.
move your body.
Okay,
I know.
deep breath in.
Which means don't take any of it too seriously.
Or you could stand up and pandiculate.
I do that in front of people I don't know. I'm not gonna pendiculate. I don't even know you.
What does that mean?
Sounds dirty to me.
Everybody.
Have a good week.
I see you next
I'll
week.
tell you what that means, Beth, when you're old enough to.
Have a good day, you guys. See you next week.
You
Mwah,
too.
mwah, mwah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
Definitely.
Shreveport people. Bye, Shreveport
Bye.
people.
We talked about.
Her hair.
Bye.
Hey,
Bye.